The Welterweight Championship, a top bantamweight contender matchup, and the ultimate Sigma male fight. All of these fights combined will create the epic UFC 278 event. Oh yeah, and some like other fights too that are happening, but like not much to talk about. But anyways, more details that in this video. Hello there, I'm Brad Lasky. Welcome to my channel. This is episode 2 of the Not So Casual UFC show. The show where I go over upcoming UFC events with a slightly more casual view, but not that type of casual, if you know what I mean. In this video, I'm going to be going over this week's big UFC event, UFC 278. Well, sort of it. Some of it. So, this card does have prelims, but no one is fighting for me to really talk about. 2 starting main fights that could be really good, and then there's the big 3 fights that I mentioned in the intro earlier. But I will go over the first 2 fights of the main card, but the majority of this video will be going over the last 3 fights of the evening. So without further ado, let's finish this intro and let's get started. So our first 2 fights on the main card include Tyson Pedro versus Harry Hunsucker at light heavyweight, and Marcin Tybura versus Alexander Romanov at heavyweight. Honestly, even though I'm not familiar with these fighters too much, I think we still got some bangers with these big guys. Let's analyze this first fight, Tyson Pedro versus Harry Hunsucker. See some of their resume for the moment. Okay, wow. Minus 800, huge favorite, Tyson Pedro. According to Topology site, he's number 29 light heavyweight. This guy, number 143, heavyweight. Okay, so it's this guy Hunsucker, he's a heavyweight coming down to fight at light heavyweight. Okay then, since he's that big of a favorite, we're gonna see what they... Oh wow, okay. Even this, 82% of people say KO by Pedro. I'm gonna just roll with what everyone's saying. I'll take Pedro. Honestly, yeah, I like to see a finish. So I'll say a KO. I'll say a round 2 KO. How about that? Yeah. Moving on to Tybura versus Alexander Romanov. Let's look at some of this tail of the tape. I believe I've seen Tybura fight before. This was his last fight. Okay, yeah, I did watch his last fight versus Volkov. It was an okay fight, but Volkov was just clearly better. So immediately I'm noticed his record, 16-0, Romanov. I've never even heard this guy before. But let's see, 2 months ago, Sherman, Vendera 10 months ago, seems to be moderate favorite over Tybura. And, okay, yeah, so even in the community predictions, a lot of people think Romanov will get the finish here. I do think Romanov, and again, I do want to see finishes between these two fights. I don't want to see no decision between these like boring fights. Some of the fights ahead, I won't be so bored if they turn out decisions, but these fights, I like to see a finish. So let's say Romanov submission round 1. All right, now we can move on to Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili. Dvalishvili.
Extremely loose, and Aldo looks like he's feeling the pressure of this moment.
I mean, what's not to like about Jose Aldo? He's had such a long and great career, and not just the UFC, but in MMA in general. Breaking records, doing a bunch of stuff, title defenses, everything. Just looking over his resume in general, seeing all the people he's beaten back in the day, and even the people he's beaten recently. He was in a tough stretch. After the McGregor fight, then he was moving down to bantamweight. Was in a tough stretch there. Had to get adjusted to it and work his way up to beat Marlon Vera, to beat Pedro Munhoz, to beat Rob Font. It's been a good climb for Aldo, and he's in a good groove right now. I'm not too familiar with his fight with Vera, but I do remember seeing his fight with Pedro Munhoz live. He's still great at throwing body shots. Improved. His wrestling skills are still there against Rob Font. So, if anything, Jose Aldo, if he wins, I think he should be up next for the title. He should. I think he's earned it. But now let's talk about his opponent, Merab Valishvili. I know I butchered that last name. I butchered most of these names in this video so far, so don't hold me too accountable. Let's just move on. But yes, let's talk about him for a little bit. It's tough not to bring up first his last fight against Marlon Moraes. If you are familiar with this fight, he was almost knocked out in the very first round. He was super resilient. Yeah, and he just stayed composed, to get to the second round and finish him in the second with ground and pound strikes. And it was just a crazy thing to see, and it really showed just how tough, Merab is. This is a big step up, I think, for Merab, because you can see he's on a good winning streak. It appears in the UFC. His last loss in the UFC, 2018, 2017. But yeah, he's beat Casey Kenny is pretty good, Stamen, and especially the Moraes fight. So it is going to be a step up for Merab. He does train the same gym Aljamain Sterling does. I do think that is a plus. This is a very good gym. It's tough to know if Merab is good enough to beat Aldo, because being good enough to beat Aldo is completely different than being good enough to beat Moraes. You know what I mean? All right, to wrap this fight up and make a prediction, as you can see here in the community predictions, a lot of people think it's going to be a decision either way. More people deciding Aldo over Merab, which makes sense. Aldo's the veteran, but Merab, he's kind of, a more flashy newcomer into the top contenders. I do think Aldo's body shots are going to be a big factor in this fight. I don't think they might be enough to finish Merab, but I do think they will be enough to win the fight. So I'm going to pick Aldo, and I'm going to pick him to win by decision. All right. Now we can finally start talking about the ultimate Sigma male fight of the year. Hell, maybe even of the century. Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold.
I think it could go either way. I think it's hard to see. I don't know.
So what is a Sigma male, and why are Costa and Rockhold both Sigma males? Well, since Costa lost to Adesanya and became a meme, he's been kinda losing it. Costa said he has this secret juice, which kind of looks like a mix of throw up and piss. He says it helps him win his fights, which is interesting. I will say the dude has been pretty funny on Twitter, even though some of his posts he's shirtless and stuff, like a typical Sigma male. But Rockhold might even be a bigger Sigma male. For one, his literal last name is Rockhold. But two, he seems to always be shirtless when he's being interviewed by women. But this man always seems to come off as one of the most awkward people on camera. For some reason, he always acts awkward.
The world is my oyster. I'm a fucking gypsy. Paulo Costa is pathetic. And kid needs to sign the contract and agree to the weight, agree to the fight, agree to the date, agree to the dance. And let's go.
So let's analyze these two fighters' careers so far. Paulo Costa He's on a 2-loss streak, but I do think people forget, before his loss to Izzy, like he was on a streak, beating, Yoel Romero, Uriah Hall, and he was just an absolute. People forget just how much of an absolute beast he is as a middleweight. Like as a middleweight, he is a gigantic man. And there was like all these canceled bouts with Cannonier and Whitaker, which we would have loved to seen. And there was the whole deal with Vettori, which that could be a whole video on its own talking about, oh, he couldn't make weight. Oh, I was injured. Oh, that's your personal problem. Either way, Vettori won. And from the looks of it, as I'm recording this, he is going to be fighting Luke Rockhold at middleweight. Just seeing his social media, it does seem like he is going to make that weight, But then again, it is Paulo Costa Twitter, so who knows? So now on to Luke Rockhold, the former UFC middleweight champion of the world. So when he was in his prime, I was not watching UFC at the time, or I would say not into it as much as I am now. So in terms of his actual resume, it's tough to me to judge, considering one, he hasn't fought in 3 years now. Yeah, July 2019, over 3 years ago now, in his last UFC fight. And in his last win, a championship win against Chris Weidman, 2015. That is so long ago, man. But yeah, I guess his prime was, 2014, 2015, beating Lyoto Machado, Bisping the first time, Weidman. But yeah, definitely, the Bisping loss, the Blachowicz loss, and Yoel Romero loss. Goddamn, this guy. So he lost to Bisping, he lost to Romero, lost to Blachowicz, all finished within this 3 different years. These are all 3 different years. Very interesting. Yeah, so storyline is, can Luke Rockhold go back to those glory days against Paulo Costa? I don't think so. I don't think so. So simply because I think Luke Rockhold's chin just sucks. It's not what it was. I feel confident in saying Paulo Costa will win by KO. All right. As much as I love to talk about Costa versus Rockhold, of course, we gotta talk about the pay-per-view headliner himself, the welterweight championship itself, Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 2. Yeah, Usman is 100% winning this fight. And hey, that's nothing against Leon Edwards. He's a great fighter. He's got this title shot for a reason. I just can't see a world where physically and mentally he can beat Kamaru Usman in this fight. I just can't see it. So because I'm very confident Usman is going to win this fight Saturday, I'm only going to do a profile focus on him and not Leon Edwards. And just talk a little bit more about Usman, because what he has done so far in the UFC is so impressive. Not only is he by far the best welterweight of the division, he's easily number 1 or number 2 best pound for pound fighter in the world. And just his resume is so great. This fight with Edwards is going to be his 6 straight pay-per-view headliner, which is crazy impressive. He wins by finish, he wins by decision. Dude gets the job done. And yeah, he is a very entertaining fighter. He's super entertaining, just physically, mentally. I think he's just up so many levels above Leon Edwards that really I don't think it's going to be close when we see it this Saturday. I really don't see it being that close. So whether it's by finish or by decision, this is a very easy choice for me. Usman will win this fight. And for the sake of, topology, you can choose the round and how he wins. I'm just gonna say KO in the fourth round. It doesn't really matter. Like, he can win by finish, he can win by decision. I could see it either way. Okay, well, that's it. That's the video. But yes, if you did make it to this end of this video, thank you for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. I would appreciate all those things. Again, there's more sports content similar to this coming to my channel soon. I do want to be making more content like this, so just figuring out more the schedule. Meant to upload a video the week before, didn't really like it, posting this week. So hopefully I can do weekly. That's my goal for now, to post a video a week. But yes, if you do like my content, I do appreciate, again, all those things, liking, subscribing, commenting. I want to keep doing this. I don't know how much longer I can repeat the stuff. Again, getting more used to outros, but yeah, thank you for watching. If you are seeing this, so see you later. Peace.